You're listening to the School Leadership Reimagined podcast, episode 306. How do builders like us make a dramatic difference in the lives of our students in spite of all the obstacles we face? How do you keep your vision for your school from being held hostage by resistant teachers, uncooperative parents, ridiculous district policies, or a lack of time, money, or resources? If you're facing those challenges right now, here's where you'll find the answers, strategies, and actionable tips you need to overcome any obstacle you face. You don't have to wait to make a difference in the lives of the people you serve. You can turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Let's get started. Hey builders, welcome to another episode of the School Leadership Reimagined podcast. I'm your host, Robyn Jackson. And before we begin today's episode, I just want to thank you for the outpouring of support that I got from the episode I did last time about my mentor and the power of having a good mentor. I got so many emails and messages on all the platforms, just people reaching out. That was a pretty vulnerable episode. I appreciate everybody who reached out, everybody who sent me a kind word. And I also appreciated the stories. Many of you were inspired to reach out to your own mentors, people who have poured into your life, and to thank them and show them appreciation. I never thought that episode would spark that, but I'm so glad it did. It's really important for us to kind of just tell people that we appreciate them while we still have them with us. And so just want to thank you all for the outpouring. I also have a couple of announcements. I've been telling you the podcast is going to be making a shift. I'll have more for you about that next month when we get to our 7-year podcast anniversary. But just kind of letting you know, we've been doing some things behind the scenes to really upgrade the experience, and I cannot wait to tell you about that. I also want to let you know that the 100% Collective, our community for builders, is now open. And, we did a soft open last week where we opened it up to people. We had our early birds come in, and we are constantly adding new resources. What's really cool is that last month we did a masterclass on the 5 ins and 5 outs method. And so many people have implemented it, and they're just posting all these wins inside the community of how the method is really helping and transforming their school and getting teachers to have really great conversations about the curriculum and getting people a lot more focused. They're telling about how the teachers really like it. And so if you missed that training when we did that last month, the training is now inside of the 100% Collective, along with a playbook that has all the tools. Everything you need, examples, protocols for setting up the meeting, all the tools you need to do it. So you don't even have to think about it. It's just right there. And that's inside the 100% Collective. And it's for people, administrators who want to be 100% principals, who really do want to achieve that. Every single month, we are putting so many tools. In fact, my team was telling me I probably need to slow down, right? But there are these things that I've been wanting to share with you for years that are there. And the whole idea is that the master classes and the tools are designed to help you take work that you're already doing, but do it like a builder, do it like 100% principal, do it differently, and to be able to get more out of it. So we've got tools in there on how to do walkthroughs. You're doing walkthroughs anyway, but how do you make those walkthroughs meaningful? And we've got some variations for walkthroughs that are really, really powerful that help you kill 2 birds with 1 stone. It helps you get in the classroom, so it also helps you use walkthroughs as a tool to develop your teachers. It's like my favorite thing, right? And then we have the 5 in, 5 outs. We have, if you are hiring an AP this year, we have a whole masterclass and a complete playbook on how to do that. We've got playbooks on how to conduct student focus groups. We're doing a master scheduling masterclass Thursday, right? So tomorrow, if you're listening to this in real time. And then that masterclass, you get that as a part of the collective. So if you want that, and if you want to be a part of that collective, if you are 100% principal and you are ready to get some tools to help you really implement buildership in your school in some very practical ways, then you want to go to buildershipuniversity.com/community. buildershipuniversity.com/community. All right, I think that's it for the logistics today. And I want to start out by telling you a story. So a couple years ago, I was working with a principal, and we were working on vision and helping him and the other principals in the school district come up with their 100% vision. And he came up with this beautiful vision. He was passionate about it. And so he started working on it. And a couple of months passed by. And then I said, "How's your vision going?" And he says, "Well, it's hard. We're stuck. We had some initial excitement about it, but we're really stuck." And it happened to be master scheduling season. So I said, "Okay, well, let me take a look at your master schedule." Because I believe that no matter what you say you want to do for your school, your master schedule tells me your real priorities. And when I looked at his master schedule, his vision was about every student having being able to have options and be prepared for the next level. His mission was really about putting students' needs first. The core values were all about kids, kids, kids. But when I looked at his schedule, the schedule wasn't about the kids at all. It was about the adults. And so I pointed it out to him, and he said, "Well, the teachers did this schedule. This is what they want. And if I change it, then I'm going to get pushback." And I said, "Oh, either you're going to have to change your schedule or you're going to have to change your vision. Because if you have a vision that is really about putting kids first and giving them opportunities, and your master schedule does not put kids first and does not give kids opportunities, then you will never achieve your vision. No wonder you're frustrated." I see this all the time where people say they want something. They say they believe in the difference that they want to make for students, but the structures around them are designed to undermine the very work that they say they are so passionate and committed to doing. Your master schedule isn't just a spreadsheet. It isn't just a task that you complete every year around this time. And some of us, quite frankly, are putting it off and dealing with it in the summer and doing it last minute and taking the one we had last year and tweaking it and sending it in. And if you do that, you are undermining your vision. If your master schedule is not serving your vision, then the master schedule is undermining your vision. And so I always say this whenever I go into a school and they say they believe in something, I say, I'll find out, right? I do two things. I talk to the kids and I look at the master schedule, because that they will always tell the truth. And I've been in so many schools where the administration, if I listen to them, they say, "Oh yeah, we're all about the kids. We love the kids. We're doing all this stuff for the kids." And I talk to the kids and I'm like, "Okay, so what's going on? How are you feeling?" And I do a student focus group and the kids tell the real story. And then I look at the master schedule and I see a master schedule that is actively undermining what they say they believe. So on today's episode, I'm going to talk about the master schedule. And, if you're thinking, I already know everything I need to know about the master schedule, this is not an episode about bell schedules and time blocks and should you do a 4x4, 7-period day. This is not technical master schedule. We have had enough training on that. All of us know how to do that. But the problem is we treat the master schedule like a technical exercise. We don't do the strategic thinking and the work that we really need to be doing to think about the master schedule differently and uncover opportunities that are hidden in our master schedule to really meet the needs of our students. It's funny. We have a mastermind inside of Buildership University, and the mastermind was talking about master scheduling this month in our mastermind. And these are like my best builders. These are people who have gone through the process. They're doing this work. And even they were saying, "I'm not really thinking about my master schedule that way." We have been trained to treat the master schedule like a clerical exercise and a pain in the neck. But we're missing this really great opportunity to set up our master schedule in service of our vision. I always say that next year is being built right now. And if you're not thinking seriously about your master schedule, you need to listen up, because that strategic looking at your master schedule will set you up for next year, will determine whether you're making huge progress and gains or whether you stay stuck. So let's talk about the master schedule. Remember, commitment to being boring this year. Master schedule seems like it's a boring topic, but by the time you finish this episode, I hope that you will see it differently. So here's how we normally do it. Like, as a leader, we were trained, master scheduling is a logistical task. In fact, if you're a principal, it's probably something that you give to your junior AP if you have one, or you pass it off to your guidance counselor. It's not something that you are intimately involved in. And I remember when I was the junior AP, I got the master schedule, and people were looking at me and kind of patting me on the shoulder sympathetically and saying, "Oh, sorry, you got the master schedule." But I believe that whoever does the master schedule controls your school. I'll say that again. Whoever is doing the master schedule, that person controls your school. I didn't get drunk with the power, don't worry, but I did see the potential of it, because when you do the master schedule, you are designing what next year is going to look like. You are determining whether or not you're going to make progress towards your vision or whether you're going to stay stuck. And so, because we treat it like a clerical exercise, here's what often happens with the master schedule. The first thing that happens is we have endless revisions. So a lot of people don't even bother building a master schedule this early in the school year, because they're like, oh, so many things are going to change. And so, every time you build a draft, and just when you think it's done, something changes, your staffing changes, or somebody complains and pushes back, and now you got to change it, or somebody says they're not coming back this year. And if you build your master schedule around personalities instead of around serving kids, all of a sudden you got to go back and change it. And so if you are building a master schedule the way that you've been trained, you will always be vulnerable to these changes, because the master schedule is a game of Tetris where you're just fitting blocks in place instead of having a strategic idea around what the master schedule needs to do. It's one of the best ways to build what I call a future-proof master schedule, where you're not making all these revisions and you're not making all these changes. Instead, your master schedule is actually serving you, and it's future-proof. So if the district changes things, or if your staffing allocation changes, you're doing tweaks, but you're not doing major revisions. And also, if you do the master scheduling process right, you're also not facing pushback. You see, right now, that leads me kind of to the second thing, which is that when you do master scheduling the traditional way, you get a lot of teacher pushback, because again, you're thinking about filling blocks and, numbers and calculations and formulas. You're not thinking about what it is you're trying to do with your master schedule. So one of the things that I'm going to be doing in the masterclass this week is I'm going to be showing you a way that you can do the master scheduling process that all but eliminates teacher pushback. It helps teachers feel involved without they're taking over the master schedule. It gets agreement at the very beginning. And so you don't have to deal with the pushback. But if you don't do this, you're going to have a lot of pushback. And so, you know how it happens, right? So every draft, you send out, you get this wave of questions and complaints. And I want a first period off. And how come she has 2 planning periods and I only have 1? And all the things that happen with a traditional master schedule. You're afraid to put even a master scheduling board in your office. You're like, you got Post-it notes hidden under a paper, or you're locking your office and putting paper on your window during the master scheduling season. And, I remember when I did the master schedule, people were like, we're going to put the board in your office. And I had the master scheduling board right across from my desk. And I would leave my office open. I didn't care what people saw, or how, people would, they would sneak in at the very beginning and look at the master schedule. And, but because we did this one thing that I'm going to be showing you on Thursday, I didn't care if they saw it, because it didn't matter. I wasn't getting pushback from it. But if you don't do this thing, you're going to get pushback. People are going to be looking at it because the master schedule is driven by, who's pushing hardest, right? Like, I remember that even when I was a teacher, whoever did the master schedule, we'd be sneaking in. We'd be like, oh, I heard that you're going to get 3 preps next year. Or I would, be in there advocating, listen, I live 45 minutes away from the school. If you don't want to have other people covering my classroom every time there's a crash on the Beltway, you better give me first period off. But we had a staff of 200 and something teachers. So every teacher is going in saying, I want first period off, or can I get 5th period off because it's right after lunch and I'm tutoring kids during lunch and I need to be able to eat my lunch, or can I get 7th period off so I can leave early and pick up my kid? If that's what's driving your master schedule, it's no wonder you're going to get pushback. And without this overarching strategy, that's all you have. And so people feel emboldened to just come and demand and tell you what they're going to do and get mad when you don't do it. And, you get these crazy schedules where, teachers have 5 preps and yeah, well, just live with it because that's what fit into the maze and the Tetris board. And you get the pushback. And a lot of times you deserve the pushback because the master schedule isn't being driven by anything except for logistics and convenience, right? And then the other thing that happens is that even when you're done with the master schedule, you don't really feel confident in the master schedule. Yes, it's done. And we all live, okay, it's just good enough. At least it got done. At least it's going to help. And then we'll just hand schedule the other 20% of the kids. It's 80% of the way done. And, you submit the master schedule, but it doesn't feel good. And sometimes people are confused, and then summer comes and then you end up changing it, or you don't get it done in time for summer. So people go home in the summer, they don't even know what they're teaching next year, or you rush to get it done in time for summer. And it's a hot mess, but you already told somebody they were going to be doing 3rd grade. And then you have to make the call in the middle of summer, like, yeah, I know I told you 3rd grade, but it's going to be 4th grade. Then they're upset because they've already written their 3rd grade lesson plans and now they have to go back. It's a mess, the way that we were trained to do master scheduling. And when you're trying to achieve your 100% vision, you don't have time for mess. You need something different. And so what happens is we do the traditional way of the master schedule, and then we end up with a schedule that doesn't match our vision. We say like, oh, I value collaboration, but teachers don't have shared planning times. Or you say, hey, we believe in personalization, but you're pulling kids out for pull out because you don't have any room in your master schedule to really help integrate support into what kids are doing during the school day. And you end up with a master schedule that works, and I'm doing air quotes here, but it's not a master schedule that you feel confident in. It's not a master schedule that you can look at and see really serves your kids. And the master schedule is telling on you because your priority was getting it done or appeasing the teachers or appeasing the district formulas and making it technically correct. Your master schedule wasn't about your students. And that's a problem, right? When you have a master schedule that's misaligned with your vision, it contradicts your values. You can't get up and say, we believe in this. These are our core values. This is our mission. This is our vision. When your master schedule doesn't create space and time for people to achieve it. And so after a while, they're just going to be like, you know what, your vision, you say that, but when am I supposed to do it? Where in the schedule are we supposed to have this happen? And your master schedule begins to make you a liar. It begins to undermine what you're saying, and it tells on you, right? The second thing that happens is that it undermines teacher morale. When your master schedule undermines your vision, it undermines student progress. It undermines your own credibility. People get confused and they start not trusting you. And your master schedule creates a lot of wasted time. You spend all this time getting people excited about your vision, and then you give a master schedule that kills it. You spend all this time trying to get people focused on 100%, and then you create a master schedule that has them focusing on something else. You have all these missed opportunities, right? And it's a lot of it is because we often don't start from scratch with a master schedule. One of the things that we talked about in the mastermind, and I'll be teaching in the training, is how do you interrogate your master schedule? Because we don't do that. We often start this year's master scheduling by just taking the framework from last year's master schedule and fixing a couple of tweaks maybe, or just using it and starting from it, rather than saying, hey, is this still the right format for us, for where we are and where we're heading, and thoroughly interrogating your master schedule. One of the things that when we were in the mastermind talking about master schedule, someone said, well, how do you do that? And when we talked about it, we started raising questions that people had never, ever considered around their master schedule. But when you ask those questions and you interrogate your master schedule the right way, you start to see possibilities instead of constraints. Right now, when I talk to people with master schedules, if they don't interrogate their master schedule, they're like, well, I don't have the staffing. Well, I only have this amount of time for lunch. Well, the duty day. Well, we need to have so many instructional hours for this. And so they get locked in thinking about their master schedule in a really limited way. And so they feel stuck. And when you interrogate your master schedule the right way, not only do you not feel stuck, but you start, those constraints become possibilities. I'll give you a quick example. I was working with somebody who was doing a master schedule, and they had limited space for lunch. And so what they were doing with, this crazy thing where they were doing like everybody at 20 minutes for lunch, because they had this window when kids needed lunch, and, their lunch period was like 2.5 hours long because of the amount of kids they had, the limited space they had. And so every 20 minutes, the cafeteria was turning over kids. The kids barely had time to sit down and eat. The teachers hated it. The cafeteria hated it. The parents hated it. They didn't think there was another way of doing it. And I started asking them some questions, and we started interrogating the master schedule and looking at the space limitations and finding other opportunities for doing it. So the first thing we did was we started finding other spaces in the building and setting up different kinds of lunches so that we could have more time so the kids could get their lunch, take them to other safe spaces in the building, and or offering students a cold lunch alternative. So rather than just doing the hot lunch for kids who wanted to explore ideas, having the cafeteria switch to a cold lunch, a box lunch alternative that kids could pick up in the cafeteria and then go other spaces. So they could do personalized learning projects and maker spaces and clubs and other things, so that you could have more kids at lunch, but lunch could be longer and more robust, and they could do some of the other things that they wanted to do as a school but didn't have time during the school day to do. So the problem is the solution. And I love that about master scheduling. If you interrogate it right, the things that have been problems for you in the past become wonderful opportunities for you to do the stuff you've been wanting to do anyway. But you gotta look at your master scheduling differently. Right? So that's the difference between doing your master schedule like a leader and doing your master schedule like a builder, right? When you do it like a builder, the first thing that happens is you have so much more clarity and control over your master schedule. When you know what your priorities are, and when everybody understands those priorities and everybody has agreed on the priorities, you're not guessing, you're not second guessing yourself, you're not redoing it. You're just going through the process and executing a plan. Now, I know this personally. When we became the master scheduler, we had a pretty decent master schedule. We had an amazing guidance department who, walked me through a lot of stuff. But when we started seeing the master scheduling season, not just as a season, but something that we were doing all year long, everything changed. So the first thing I did was I stopped trying to cram the master schedule into, a 2-month period. We did master scheduling all year long. And one of the things I'm going to share with you in the training is the year-long master scheduling calendar, so that you can get on a rhythm so you're never feeling stressed out, right? Every month it breaks down, this is what you need to be doing this month. And it's not a lot. It's not like you're just, grinding around the master schedule every single month, but you're doing things every single month that set you up. And once we did it that way, listen, I was always like the first or second person in the district to submit a completed master schedule to get to 85%. And we had a huge middle school, but we were able to do it because we didn't treat it as an isolated thing, because we knew what the priorities were, because we had a process in place. And so it stopped being this thing where we're rushing and spending nights and weekends at work. It just was this, I hesitate to say it was easy, but it did. It felt easy peasy. I remember going to trainings with my colleagues who were also master schedulers, and they're all stressed out about it. And I'm just like, yeah, we've got a pretty good system going on, right? And the other thing that made it a lot easier is that when you're a builder, the way that you do the master schedule creates buy-in into the priorities from the very beginning. So everybody's on the same page. And I love this, right? Because people feel like there's an either or thing with the master schedule. Either I have to hide it so that I can completely control it and then deal with the pushback, or I have to hand it over to the teachers and then they get all up in the master schedule and then we never get anything done. There is a third option that's better than both of those. Because as a builder, what you do is you get agreement from the very beginning on the scheduling priorities. And when you do that, then people leave you alone. That's why I didn't have to lock my door and people could come in and look at the board. I remember I'd be out in an observation. I'd come back and there'd be somebody standing at the board and looking at the board. And then I'd say, hey, you got any questions? And they're like, no, I'm just looking. And nobody's complaining because we got the agreement and the commitment at the very beginning. So one of the things I'm doing at the training is I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to give you what that meeting looks like, who needs to be at that meeting, what the outcomes of the meeting, everything you need so that you can do that and secure that agreement at the very beginning so you don't have to worry about it, right? And so instead of complaints, you get appreciation. They understand the why behind what you're doing, so people trust you to do the master schedule and not take it over. And listen, I had some teachers who, really thought they could do the master schedule better than I could and had all these ideas. And then, before I shifted to doing it this way, everybody wants to pull me aside and talk to me about and show me this. And, after we started doing it this way, it wasn't an issue. It just wasn't an issue. I don't know what else to say. It just wasn't an issue. And so when you do the master schedule the builder's way, you get people invested in buying in and supporting the master schedule. And then the third thing is that when you do the master schedule the builder's way, you end up with a schedule that actually supports your vision. I mean, isn't that the whole outcome? Like, you want a schedule where you look at that schedule and anybody who looks at that schedule can see what your priorities are and they are aligned with your vision, mission, and core values. That's what helps people believe in your master schedule, when it makes sense, when people can see it, right? So if collaboration is an issue, your master schedule prioritizes it. If intervention and acceleration is an issue, then your master schedule prioritizes it. If advanced learning without having to sacrifice instructional minutes is an issue or a priority, your master schedule shows that. So people get why you're doing what you're doing. And then the last big benefit of doing the master schedule the builder's way is that you get the master schedule done before teachers leave. And if something changes over the summer, your master schedule is able to roll with those changes without having to upend everything. You just don't get stressed out about it. I remember I did the master schedule. Mine was always done like by May, right? So teachers knew well ahead of time what they were going to be teaching so that they could start collaborating and shifting things around. We didn't get out till mid-June, so teachers had so much time to really figure some things out. It also helped with hiring. Like, once I knew what the master schedule needed, then if people left, I could get ahead of what I needed. So I need a strong sixth grade teacher. I knew that because my master schedule told me that. So I could go and grab a great strong sixth grade teacher because I knew I needed it. And as opposed to waiting until June and July, I'm like, oh no, my master schedule, I had to change it. And now I need a sixth grade teacher, but I've already hired all the teachers. And now I got to call somebody and tell them, hey, I know I told you eighth grade, but you're going to go to sixth. I don't have to do that because your master schedule's done and people can go away in the summer. They know what they're teaching. You don't have to make the dreaded call in the summer. And people, you set your teachers up for success. You set your teachers up so that if they choose to, they can, in the summer, think about what they're doing and come back in the fall confident about what they're doing. You make your teachers better because the master schedule was designed to do that, right? So listen, you don't need another complicated scheduling formula. You don't need here's a master schedule you can try. Even though, during the training, I'm going to give you some examples, right? There's some example schedules there to kind of illustrate what I mean. But you don't need that. You can Google and look at all these crazy schedules. But if you don't understand the thinking behind those schedules, who cares, right? It's not going to serve you. You don't need all of that. What you really need, and what's missing from the way that we were trained, is a way of thinking about the master schedule and recognizing and using it as a tool in service for your vision. What you need is a way to create a master scheduling process that doesn't create more stress for you, because nobody needs that, but actually moves your vision forward. And it's not about making your master schedule perfect, but it is about making your master schedule aligned. And if you do this now, you really do set yourself up for a much better year next year. So why wouldn't you do it? So what you want, and this is what builders do, is we build a school where every system from PD to planning time to pull out support to push in support and your master schedule, it's all aligned with your vision, your mission, and your core values. So the schedule doesn't just hold the day together, it actually drives your vision, it drives your mission, it drives your core values. So that's my challenge to you this week. I want you to take a look at your master schedule. If it does not move your vision forward, if your master schedule reflects a set of priorities that are out of sync with what you say is important, now's the time to change it. And so we're having a masterclass. If you are a member of BU or a member of the 100% Collective, you get this. It's already part of it. All you need to do is just look in your email, make sure you register. It's a part of your membership. If you are not a member of BU or the 100% Collective, that's our community, and you want to be a part of the masterclass, we have a couple of guest passes available, and you can go to buildershipuniversity.com/community and get your guest pass. Now, if you're listening to this podcast in real time, then the masterclass is tomorrow, Thursday, and it's going to be Thursday evening. If you can't make it, don't worry, because if you get a guest pass, then you'll get 14 days to watch the replay and download all the materials. And I need to tell you, the materials, I'm so proud of them, right? My team told me I did too much, but I just wanted you to have everything. So we have a playbook for you. We've got all the tools you need to get people on the same page. And I mean, we've got examples of master. It's so rich, right? So if you want to go ahead and purchase a guest pass to the masterclass, just go to buildershipuniversity.com/community. And if you're really smart, what you'll do, so your guest pass is going to be $147. But if you're really smart, what you're going to do is you're going to see that the collective is only $100 a month. And not only do you get everything for this masterclass, but all the other tools and all the other masterclasses every single month as a part of your membership. So if you want to go ahead and join the community in time to get this masterclass, to get the 5 Inside Out masterclass and tools, all the other tools that we're uploading on a weekly basis, then just go to buildershipuniversity.com/community. buildershipuniversity.com/community. All right, so my final take. I know master schedules are boring. I know that there is all this other stuff that you want to be doing. And I know that a lot of times we end up pushing master scheduling on to somebody else or saying, let me just get through the school year first and then I'll work on it in the summer. But now's the time. Remember, next year is being built right now. And it doesn't have to be a chore. If you do your master schedule the builder's way, then it can be a part of just everything else that you're building. And it can actually be kind of fun and exciting, because when you start to see the possibilities that you aren't even aware that you have, it gets exciting about what you can really do within all the constraints that you have. You can do something that makes a difference. You can build a schedule that sets your teachers and your kids up for success, and you can build a schedule that makes next year a banner year for you and your students. But only if you think about your master schedule and approach the master scheduling process like a builder. I'll talk to you next time. Hey, if you're ready to get started being a builder right away, then I want to invite you to join us at Buildership University. It's our exclusive online community for builders just like you, where you'll be able to get the exact training that you need to turn your school into a success story right now with the people and resources you already have. Inside, you'll find our best online courses, live trainings with me, tons of resources, templates, and exemplars, and monthly live office hours with me where you can ask me anything and get my help on whatever challenge you're facing right now. If you're tired of hitting obstacle after obstacle and you're sick of tiny little incremental gains each year, if you're ready to make a dramatic difference in your school right now, then you need to join Buildership University. Just go to buildershipuniversity.com and get started writing your school success story today.